All right, everybody, my name is Ashton Harvey, and this is the Significant Edge Academy. What is up, everybody? First off, I want to say happy Memorial Day. I hope all of you guys have an amazing day celebrating with friends and family, and just not forgetting to take a moment just to remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice so that we can be here today. Also, just a huge thank you and a huge shout out to all of my friends and family in the military. Thank you so much for your service. So a lot of people are asking me, Ashton, why are you starting this program off with Charisma and Confidence series? Aren't you a sales and business development trainer? And honestly, that's a really great question. And yes, I am, which is why this question is 100% legitimate to ask, but also it speaks to the misunderstanding of what sales and business development training is at its core. So on the one hand, yes, I'll be covering the new age business and sales strategies that work and that are backed by data. Of course I'm going to do that. But in the same respect though, I can say this with almost 100% certainty. I can teach you all the hard skills, the strategies, and the methods that top performing sales reps use to close more sales. But if you have a piss poor attitude, lack self-confidence, and low EQ, it's gonna be very, very difficult for you to transcend into massive success in your business and in your sales career. So with that being said, that's why I think it's really important not only to teach you the hard skills of sales, but also the soft skills behind them that will fuel your success faster, okay? So, because remember, my goal is to help you outlast, out-earn, and outperform the competition. So I hope that clears up everything. If you have any additional questions, of course, please send them my way. I know you have a lot of them. So now let's jump into how you can become more interesting and magnetic in every conversation. All right, I'm gonna be honest. When I got this question, I thought, for a lack of better words, interesting. I thought it was interesting. They had asked me, Ashton, how can someone be perceived as smarter and more interesting in a conversation or a networking event? I was thrown off by the question just because I'm used to questions more like, how do you be more charismatic? How do you be more fun or influential? But interesting kind of threw me off for a second. So before I get started, I'm going to start with this assumption that you all are already smart and perceive yourself as being interesting, because otherwise you're asking for advice on giving a false image, which I'm not prepared to do. So in my opinion, just because really it won't really last in the long term. See, the fact is when someone's trying to act like somebody that they're not, I always think of what my mentor once told me, which he said, it's physically impossible to be consistently inconsistent with who you truly are. So with that understanding, you're smart and you think you're interesting, but think that others don't perceive you as such. So that is a problem that I'm willing to approach. So number one, don't always have something to say all the time. Sometimes speaking little adds a lot of weight to what you actually say. So a couple months back, I was having a discussion with one of my business associates at one of my mastermind groups. One of the members was having a really tough time moving forward with one of his deals. The CHRO of the company he was trying to meet with was getting really frustrated about the meetings, the amount of meetings he was having with her team. She didn't see the need of having her entire team there during the meeting. On the other hand, he needs to make sure that everyone is on the same page because it was a massive $1.2 million deal. So everyone in the group was saying, yeah, he should really inform the CHR of the importance of the meeting and enforce the fact that they need to have the entire team there to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Now I was kind of just sitting back while they were having this discussion, and then this thought kind of came up in my mind, and I paused the group for a second. I was like, hey, listen guys, well, this is important. This is like a really important deal, and I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here. Although I know it's important that how important the meetings are, but we have to see things from her perspective as well. Time is money, and if she's having 7 of her VP staff spending 40 to 60 minutes a week at these meetings, that's about 8 hours of executive time. I remember asking him, is there any way that we can possibly have the meetings, but maybe have her appoint a team lead so that you can sit down with and do the demos? And everybody's like, I'm not kidding. Everybody in the room was like, wow, that is an amazing idea. That was really the only thing that I said. Later that week, he had emailed me saying that the CHRO was very appreciative of how flexible he was with the meeting, and eventually ended up closing that deal 6 months later. So what I'm trying to say is when you speak, have something insightful to say that doesn't seem to be said during the group. So don't be afraid to play devil's advocate. That will enhance your appearance of intelligence actually, and make you seem more interesting and give the group a 360 view of the entire conversation. And number 2, when being perceived as interesting, it's not about you. 8 years ago, I was at a conference in Vegas with a couple of friends of mine, and we were meeting all these new people. And I remember specifically, there was a crowd that started to form around one of my buddies, and they were a lot of high-level people. And so I went over there and I was just a fly on the wall. But I was watching my friend completely captivate his audience. All he was doing was asking them questions using what we now call the Bartender Method. If you're wondering what the Bartender Method is, don't worry, there's more videos on that. So he was asking them questions about their interests, their insight, and things that they like to talk about, and he just stuck to those points. That night, we made amazing friendships, and they probably walked away thinking, I really like that guy. Yet when I look back at the conversation, I think he barely even talked about himself. So the point that I'm trying to make here is pay attention to other people when you're speaking, and try to perceive when they're either bored or thus, when they're excited, so you can see what topics matter to them in the conversation and interest them. So once you find out what topics actually interest them, stick to it. When you talk about topics that are interesting to them, you in turn become more interesting to talk to. All right, number 3, don't try to dominate the conversation and teach people, but make sure that it's an actual conversation that involves everybody. So my wife and I host a small group every Thursday for our church group, and one of the things that we have to do is facilitate the conversation. What that doesn't mean though is dominate and tell people what topics we're going to teach on. Conversations are not your opportunity to train, but it's instead an opportunity to build new insight. We ask questions and give our perspective and then learn about other people's perspective in the process as well. So when sharing your opinions or anecdotes during a conversation, tell them briefly and without excessive detail, and leave other people wanting more. Don't try to be that guy who knows and speaks your mind on everything. If it works, and it usually doesn't, you'll come off obnoxious. And so that's it. That's the 3 ways to be perceived as smarter and more interesting during a conversation, or maybe a networking event. So just a quick recap of the 3 ways that you can be more interesting is 1, don't always have something to say all the time. 2, being interesting is not about you. And 3, don't teach in a conversation. All right, remember, I come out with videos every Monday, so if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, go ahead and click the button below, that really nice button down there. And also, I post daily short videos on Facebook, Instagram, and on my LinkedIn. So if you're not following me there, you can find your favorite social link in the description below. Thank you so much for everybody for watching today. And remember, until next time, be kind, be bold, be significant. I'll see y'all next time.